House Speaker Mike Johnson has as maybe his only goal between now and the election, they need to fund the government. There's a shutdown looming in like 3 weeks, I guess, or something like that, the end of the month. And we know that he's being pulled between different factions. I think that he'd put forward a bill, and I believe that that has since been retracted, even though I believe that Donald Trump had said that he was in favor of attaching this seemingly pointless and conspiratorial voter certification provision or whatever. And so I'd like an inside view on what's the current status of the process to fund the government. Where do you see this going over the next few weeks?
Well, the current status is it's broken. This is not very complicated. We just need a measure to fund the government through the election. We're talking about 6 weeks, and then we can fight, and then we'll have a clear sense of who has the House, who has the presidency, who has the Senate. But the Republicans were insisting on putting this national voter ID law, which would basically make it much harder for young people to vote, which would put a lot of burden on working and middle class who don't have those kind of IDs. And we said no. And so I think at the end of the day, Johnson should just do a clean CR. You shouldn't add policies to it. You know, we don't add Medicare for all to our CRs or free public college. And Johnson is probably going to have to come to Democrats to get some of the votes to get the continuing resolution. But he's had to do that before. It would be disastrous for them to shut down government going into the election. I mean, if they want to do that, that's just handing Democrats the election.
So fingers crossed on that. But so I think he could, as you say, he could create some sort of alliance of reasonable Republicans with enough Democrats that they could fund it, and then, as you say, have the fight later. But obviously, there are potential political ramifications to that too, because that's the sort of thing that killed Kevin McCarthy. And so I would assume that Mike Johnson is very worried about the possibility that were he to fund the government when many Republicans, some of the most hardcore MAGA Republicans, are saying no, this voter ID thing is worth shutting down the government over, that he might get his government funding, but then he might lose his speakership. Do you think that that's something that's weighing on him?
It is, of course, a risk. He's been governing that way the whole time, but he has come to Democrats, certainly for the Ukraine funding, and I think a number of other times, and it's worked out for him. And my guess is that his big judgment is going to be whether he retains the majority. If Hakeem Jeffries is speaker, he's not going to be their leader regardless. And if he wins by some chance the House, they probably keep him regardless. And so I think he's incentivized to get a deal here and keep the government moving and roll the dice on whether he's going to be speaker still.
Yeah. And the interesting confluence of the two different things that you talked about is allowing the government to shut down, which would keep them happy with him, lowers the chance that they win and they maintain control of the House, and lowers the chance that he'd be the speaker anyway, and vice versa. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Obviously, there are consequences to a government shutdown beyond just the effect on the elections. The government needs to function for a lot of different reasons. But anyway, I appreciate the insider perspective on the process. And as
absolutely, always, and if I were predicting a hazard in this business, but I would say he's going to come to the Democrats and try to get a deal for the continuing resolution.
I think that would probably be wise. But Representative Khanna, as always, thank you for giving us your time. We really do appreciate it, and we hope to keep the conversation going in the future.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me.